I was the quiet middle child who spent years paying off my family's debts, tuition, and even their dream house, until my father told me I had never given them anything. That night, I walked away and let everything crumble without me. My name is Eric. I am 29 years old. Until last year, I genuinely believed I comprehended the essence of family, not merely the idealized greeting card image, but the profound connection around which you anchor your entire existence, even if it meant perpetually shouldering an uneven burden. I was perpetually the reserved individual, the dutiful son, the one who remembered birthdays with flowers and consistently absorbed the shortfall when no one else even perceived a void. Yet, I never envisioned becoming the very backbone of a family that persistently made me feel utterly expendable. That transformation unfolded gradually, almost imperceptibly, much like a silent decay beneath floorboards, unnoticed until the entire structure caves in. Growing up, I occupied the middle position. My elder brother, Adam, was the undeniable favored son, a varsity athlete, charismatic, always surrounded by an admiring crowd. My younger sister, Mia, was the cherished daughter from the instant of her birth. And then there was me, content with B-plus grades, frequently informed I was not maximizing my capabilities. I genuinely did not mind. I maintained a low profile, secured a scholarship, departed home, and eventually launched my own modest IT firm. By some sheer fortune, it gained traction after 3 grueling years filled with instant noodles, 16-hour workdays, and being dismissed by every investor I approached. The ironic truth is, when I was contending with hardship, their presence was entirely absent. But the moment financial prosperity materialized, that is precisely when I was embraced as family once more. It began subtly. My father inquired if I could help offset the outstanding balance on Adam's car payments, just until his promotion comes through. Then arrived Mia's exclusive academic fees, only because the financial aid did not cover enough. My mother required assistance with roof repairs, subsequently the heating system, and then the kitchen remodel she had perpetually envisioned. Just like that, I found myself underwriting 3 separate households, still receiving messages like, "Can you Venmo me for the groceries?" Initially, I did not object. I felt grateful for my ability to assist. I even persuaded myself I was cultivating something substantial, perhaps a legacy. I reasoned that one day I would reflect and affirm I had improved life for those I held dear. However, an insidious element began eroding my spirit. The manner in which they regarded my contributions, as though they were an entitlement, as though I performed nothing remarkable. Last Thanksgiving served as the pivotal moment. I hosted, not to flaunt success, but because I finally possessed a residence spacious enough to accommodate everyone. I arranged catering, meticulously cleaned, and even established a fire pit in the backyard. Not a single person offered assistance, not even with the aftermath of the meal. Adam offered a toast halfway through, expounding on our collective fortune to have one another and asserting that family always prevails, never once acknowledging my full financial sponsorship of the event. Mia arrived with her new boyfriend, scarcely glancing up from her phone. And my father, he spent the entire evening recounting how life was tougher in his era and how contemporary youth had it easy. I endured it all with feigned composure, yet internally, I was already distancing myself emotionally. Then came the night that brought it all to a head. It was an ordinary Tuesday, perhaps 2 months later. I had just concluded a lengthy meeting and returned home to a voice message from my father. His tone was curt, weary, and incisive, in a way only fathers truly master. He declared, "All you do is take. You've never given this family anything worth remembering. If you had any pride, you would cease acting as if we owe you something and simply leave." It left me aghast. For a second, I thought I had misinterpreted his words. So, I replayed it. "All you do is take." I did not raise my voice. I did not return the call. I simply gazed at the message for an extended period, then walked to the window and stared at the city lights I once cherished. Something within me yielded silently, like an aged hinge snapping under an unbearable load. I packed a bag that night and departed. No theatrical farewell. No official proclamation. I even instructed my assistant to suspend all familial remittances. Just a clean, silent break. 3 days elapsed, then a week, met with complete absence of communication. No one called, no one texted. It required almost a full month for them to notice. Mia was the first. She contacted me late one Friday night, her voice tremulous. "Eric, hey, I just logged into the school portal and my tuition did not go through this month. Did something happen with the account?" I could discern the distress she attempted to mask beneath that contrived nonchalance one adopts when striving not to sound desperate. I responded with a single text, "Thought I never gave this family anything." No follow-up, no explanation, just that. She did not reply, but within the hour, I had 4 missed calls from my mother, 2 from Adam, and 1 from an unfamiliar number. The voicemail from my father was morbidly amusing. "Eric, we need to talk. Whatever this little ploy is, it is not funny. Your sister's future is on the line." No apology, merely ultimatums. Still that same old tone implying, "You owe us." That weekend, I flew to Denver. I had never visited, but I needed a destination sufficiently remote to feel as if I had broken free from their gravitational pull. I stayed in a small Airbnb, offering mountain views. I slept better than I had in years. And for the first time in a long time, I did not check my email. I did not open any messages. I permitted the world to spin without my involvement. And back home, that is precisely where everything began to disintegrate. Mia's institution sent a notice of pending withdrawal due to non-payment. Adam's car, still unpaid for, was reclaimed. My parents' home loan installment defaulted. Just like that, the edifice constructed upon my unspoken assent cracked wide open. They began reaching out to extended family, disseminating their version of events, how I had abruptly severed ties and abandoned my responsibilities. But the reality is, one cannot simply revise a narrative when too many people already comprehend the truth. And a few of my cousins they knew. They had observed the long-standing dynamic for years. I received a message from one of them, Emma, my mother's niece. She said, "I have always admired your patience, but I am glad you finally ceased being their financial backstop." That message resonated more profoundly than I had anticipated, because the truth is, I did not seek retribution. I desired tranquility. But once you dismantle the mechanism of their leverage, once they realize they need you more than you ever needed them, that is when the true unraveling commences. I spent a week in Denver, largely in quiet contemplation. Each morning, I would walk to a small coffee shop near the Airbnb, journal for a while, then wander through downtown, simply to remind myself what unbroken quietude felt like. No buzzing phone, no obligation, no one asking, "Can you just do me one more favor?" It felt peculiar at first, how foreign that calm was. As if I had to shed the reflexive anticipation of someone else's disappointment. By the second week, I had rented a car and ventured out to Boulder. I hiked alone, something I had perpetually wished to do but never managed, because every time I planned a trip, someone in the family required a bailout, a broken air conditioning unit, a late credit card payment. Mia once called me from a resort in Cancun, claiming she had lost her wallet and needed emergency cash wired. That memory surfaced as I stood at the edge of a cliff trail, the wind penetrating my outerwear. The entire valley stretched out below me. I laughed aloud. Truly laughed. It reverberated through the crags. It required 3 full weeks before my mother broke the silence with something beyond covertly hostile messages. She emailed me. The subject line, "We need you to come home." No greeting, just a lengthy block of text that commenced with, "I do not know what has gotten into you and degenerated into. Your father is furious." Then, "We have done so much for you," and concluded with, "Family does not abandon family." I stared at it for an extended period. Family does not abandon family. Except they did. Every instance they made me feel like a walking ATM with a pulse. Every birthday they forgot. Every time they accepted money from me without a word of gratitude. Every holiday where I receded into the periphery while Adam gave his speeches and Mia was showered in gifts. They did not label it abandonment. They justified it as custom. I did not reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer, Daniel, who had assisted me in establishing a trust fund years prior. I instructed him to commence the process of transferring the remaining educational payments to a scholarship program for pioneering collegiate individuals, the ones who genuinely needed assistance, the ones who would not laugh behind my back while depleting my reserves. I also requested he investigate who was listed on the deed for the lake house. The one my parents utilized every summer, paid off in full by me under the specious assurance that it would be a communal familial asset. It turned out my name remained on the paperwork. So, I made a decision that Sunday morning. I booked a flight back home, not to reconcile, not to succumb to guilt, but to gather evidence. I did not inform anyone of my arrival. I landed around noon, picked up a rental vehicle, and drove directly to the house. The same house I had helped restore when my father threatened to sell it unless someone paid to address the water damage. It appeared unchanged, recognizable, yet artificial, like a movie set constructed to resemble home. As I pulled into the driveway, I observed Adam's aged truck stationed outside. I surmised he had relocated back after the repossession. I did not knock. I entered using the spare key my mother had forgotten I possessed. The moment I stepped into the living room, I discerned murmurs. "He's being dramatic," Adam was saying. "He will come crawling back once he gets over himself." Mia's voice followed, quieter. "I just do not get why he is doing this. I mean, it is not that much money to him, is it?" My father grumbled something I could not quite distinguish. Then, loud and clear, "Eric's always been the weakest, hiding behind his computer, acting like money makes him special." I stood there in the hallway, unseen, as they continued vilifying me, as if I were not the very reason the lights remained illuminated. I did not cry. I did not storm in. I did not even feel anger, merely validation. They never truly saw me. I backed out quietly and drove to the lake house. I walked through the front door, took one long look at the open-plan kitchen, the wall of family photos that did not include a single image of me, and began documenting the property for market entry. By nightfall, my lawyer possessed everything he required to commence the divestment. That was Saturday. On Monday, I transmitted one final message in the family group chat. You said, I never gave this family anything. So I am finally giving you what you have always acted like you wanted. Distance. No more tuition, no more car payments, no more roof repairs. Sell your own memories. I am out. I exited the group chat and blocked them all. I believed that would be the conclusion. But what I did not realize was the depth of the web of dependence they had woven, and how rapidly it would unravel once I severed every tie. For within the week, Mia was on the brink of dismissal. Adam was terminated after missing too many shifts attempting to resolve matters. My parents, suffice it to say, their bank initiated inquiries regarding a mortgage they could no longer afford. And me? Well, I was already halfway to the airport for a new journey. This time, Tokyo, first class, devoid of guilt, unburdened by obligations. But the true kicker, what happened the next time they attempted to crawl back? I was somewhere over the Pacific when my phone finally registered the fallout I had left behind. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails from unfamiliar numbers, Mia's friends, likely, or someone endeavoring to intercede on my family's behalf. There were messages from my father that seemed to commence as menaces, but swiftly dissolved into fragmented pleas like, "We did not mean it that way," and "You are still our son." That one elicited a laugh from me. I did not listen to a single voicemail. I did not open any attachments. I simply watched the notifications accumulate like a quiet chronicle of apprehension. It is peculiar how individuals who assert you have never given anything suddenly recall precisely how much you contributed once it is gone. Tokyo was everything I needed. Pristine, tranquil, unidentifiable. I wandered through temples and neon-lit arcades. I allowed my mind to breathe in a way I had not known was possible. No guilt weighing down my shoulders. No surprise emergencies. For the first time in my life, I was simply me. Not someone's contingency. Not the domestic problem solver. 2 weeks into the trip, I finally unblocked just one person, Emma, my cousin. She had sent a single message during the entire fallout. "When you are ready to talk, I am here. Not to convince you, just to listen." I met up with her after my return. We sat in a cafe near her apartment, and she brought her laptop. "I want to show you something," she stated, sliding it across the table. It was a Reddit thread of all things. Mia had posted under an anonymous profile, soliciting financial assistance to remain in school after an unexpected family emergency. She constructed a narrative that portrayed me as volatile. She claimed I had abandoned the family for no reason. She asserted I was experiencing a psychological crisis. Strangers were donating money. Emma looked at me, tight-lipped. "She has raised almost $6,000 so far. I figured you should know." I stared at the screen, feeling a twist in my gut that was not anger so much as profound sadness. There it was again. That same story, reshaped to fit the victim role. Only this time, she was doing it publicly, capitalizing on it, leveraging public empathy. And worst of all, she still did not perceive what she had done. That night, I did not post an incensed public message or confront her unequivocally. I did something more subdued. I took screenshots of every payment I had made toward her education, bank transfers, tuition receipts, even the scholarly resource allocation I had wired during her freshman year. I uploaded them to a private Imager album. No names, no dramatic captions, just dates, dollar amounts, and payment confirmations. Then I posted one unattributed remark on the thread. "Before you donate, maybe ask where the other $90,000 went. Some people forget who helped them when the help stops." It did not go viral. It did not need to. But within 24 hours, her post was removed by moderators for suspicious activity, and the comments shifted course. That was the first real repercussion any of them faced. The second came a week later, when I received official correspondence at my office. It was from my father, not handwritten, but typed, like some formal injunction. It opened with, "We are formally requesting a meeting to discuss the breakdown of our family dynamic." I almost choked laughing, as if they were attempting to hold a corporate deliberation to fix what they had broken. But buried in the legal ease was the true reason they reached out. They desired a portion of the proceeds from the lake house sale. Apparently, they believed they possessed sentimental claim in the property. I passed the letter to Daniel, without a word. He read it, smirked, and said, "Want me to send them a reminder that emotional equity does not hold up in court?" I nodded. And then we did one better. We sent them a copy of the original agreement, one my father had signed years ago when I first offered to pay for the lake house. It clearly stated, in his own words, I acknowledge that this home is purchased by and remains the property of Eric, last name. I relinquish all future claims. He had forgotten, or hoped I had. That letter silenced them quite swiftly. But the quietude did not last. Not once word disseminated that I was selling the main house. 2. You see, while I was in Tokyo, Daniel and I had been engaged in a discreet, ancillary endeavor. It turned out, years ago, I had extended a substantial credit to my parents under an unwritten accord when they could not maintain their mortgage. They had never repaid me. Daniel tracked every deposit, compiled every wire transfer, and we placed a lien on the property. They now owed me well over $80,000, which meant I could judicially mandate an auction. Emma called me that night. Eric, they are in a state of alarm. Your mom called mine in tears. Your dad is menacing to disseminate on digital platforms. I sighed. Let him. I have got receipts. Let us see who wins that PR war. But what I did not tell her was that I was not pursuing retribution anymore. I was pursuing resolution. Because what none of them realized was that I had given them everything, my time, my savings, my loyalty, and they mistook it all for weakness. They thought I was a spigot they could manipulate whenever they were thirsty. And now they were learning what true deprivation entails. And yet, the most gratifying juncture had not even arrived. Because the day the house went up for auction, I walked through the front door one last time. I parked across the street the morning of the auction. The air possessed that sharp, stale chill that always hung over our neighborhood in the early fall. I sat in the car for a minute just observing. It was surreal seeing the home I grew up in, this place that had absorbed so much history, joy, bitterness, now with a small white sign staked in the front lawn. Notice of foreclosure. Auction today. No trespassing. I exited, hands in my pockets, walking slowly toward the house. The door was already open. Daniel was inside, speaking with a disposition agent, a middle-aged woman with a clipboard and an uncompromising demeanor. He nodded when he saw me. You do not have to be here for this, he said gently. I want to be, I replied. And I was. Not for reprisal, not for the spectacle, but because this moment merited an observer, someone to see it, feel it, and ensure it did not just evade notice like everything else I had swallowed over the years. I walked through the living room slowly, as if endeavoring to absorb it all one final time. The indentation in the timber flooring from when Adam threw a baseball inside, the diminished blemish on the carpet where Mia spilled nail polish and attributed it to me. The wall where my parents used to pin up report cards and drawings until they quietly ceased adding mine. It was peculiar how little of myself I saw here, as if I had been a phantom in my personal narrative. I stepped into the kitchen next. That one resonated more profoundly. I remembered late nights helping my mother prep for holiday dinners, cleansing tableware while she feigned not to hear my father haranguing in the other room, laughing with Emma over scorched pastries and inadequately prepared fowl. And now it was just a kitchen, a box of walls and forgotten effort. There was a photo still on the counter, one of the entire family taken 2 Christmases ago at my expense. I remembered remitting the photographer's deposit, the coordinated attire they insisted upon, and how they excised my image when they posted it online. I picked up the photo, looked at it for a long moment, then turned it face down. By noon, a few vehicles had begun to arrive. A couple of earnest prospective purchasers, some inquisitive residents, and then finally my family. They pulled up in my father's old Chevy, all packed in like some perverse familial excursion. Mia exited first. Her face was mottled, crimson-edged eyes behind oversized sunglasses. Adam followed, frowning menacingly, clearly present merely to act as a deterrent. And then my parents. My mother appeared haggard, 10 years older than the last time I had seen her. My father. Well, he still carried himself as if he believed he owned the very ground. He spotted me instantly. Eric, he called out, voice low and seething with indignation. We need to talk now. I did not move. He approached purposefully. Adam had stepped behind him, like a shadow. You are really doing this? My father questioned. You are going to disgrace your own family? Over what, exactly? Some imagined affront. I looked him directly in the eye for the first time in years. It is not a slight, I stated calmly. It is a recurrent dynamic, and it concludes today. You unappreciative little, he began, but I raised a hand. Do not. Just do not. Mia joined them now, her voice cracking. I am going to lose my scholarship because of this. I had to drop 2 classes already. Why are you doing this to us? I turned to her. I underwrote your first 3 years, every tuition bill, every textbook. You never expressed gratitude. Not once. Instead, you permitted them to convince you I was the problem. I did not, she began. You posted online that I was volatile. I interjected, retrieving my phone. You lied to strangers for money. And now you expect sympathy." Her face contorted. My mother finally spoke. Her voice was subdued. "Eric, families do not do this to each other." "No," I countered. "Families do not take like this. You took everything, my time, my money, my trust. And when I stopped giving, you labeled me selfish." The auctioneer's voice rang out then, sharp and professional. "We will begin the auction in 5 minutes." My father looked around, suddenly less certain of himself. "You cannot do this. You would not even possess this house if it were not for us." "You are right," I affirmed. "So, I am reclaiming it." They stood there, transfixed on the thoroughfare, powerless for the first time in years, and I walked away. The house sold within the hour. A retired couple from out of town, seeking a residence near their grandchildren. They remitted the entirety. I signed the paperwork, handed Daniel the keys, and never looked back. 3 weeks later, the moving truck arrived. My parents attempted to dispute it, claiming they had rights, but the judicial decree was unequivocal. They had 30 days from the date of the sale. No exceptions. They did not even pack everything, just salvaged their immediate possessions and left the remainder in piles. Years of accumulated disarray. Boxes of old trophies, broken appliances, forgotten memories. One of the movers discovered a journal of mine concealed within a container marked junk. It was from high school. I perused its contents. Every page was filled with aspirations: gain college admission, establish a business, acquire a house, care for my family. It is peculiar how none of those dreams concluded in the way I had envisioned. I contributed the furnishings to charity, discarded the rest. Emma assisted me in closing out the estate. She was the only one who maintained impartiality throughout it all, and the only one I trusted. When it was over, she embraced me for an extended period. "You did the right thing," she whispered, "even if it does not feel like it yet." And she was right. It did not feel good. Not in the conventional sense. There was no triumphant apotheosis, no climactic confrontation met with appreciative approbation, just silence, a piercing, resonant quiet that gradually yielded to tranquility. I relocated shortly after that. Acquired an urban apartment in an alternative metropolis. More modest, less complex, yet definitively my own, no undisclosed expenditures, no guilt. The calls eventually ceased. The emails dried up, and over time, even the resentment dissipated. I did not despise them. I merely severed ties, like finally cutting the last thread of a tattered tether that had submerged me for years. One night, I sat out on my balcony, sipping tea, watching the lights twinkle in the building across the street. I reflected on that last Thanksgiving, on the toast Adam made, on the way they all beamed as if in an advertisement, completely unaware that the cohesive bond holding them together was fracturing. And I realized something. They were never truly a family. They were a framework of dependency, a system that only functioned as long as I remained acquiescent, remained instrumental, remained inconspicuous. And now they had to learn how to cultivate self-reliance in my absence. I received a message a few months later, an email from Mia. I do not expect a response. I just wanted to say I get it now, and I am sorry. I read it twice, then once more, and then I filed it away. Not out of spite, but because I no longer required their affirmation for my resolution. I had already achieved it internally, and for the first time in my life, that was enough.